Soon we will be celebrating the holiday of Passover, which occurs in the month of Nisan, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. Rabbi, when I was doing research for our program today on the month of Nisan, there was something that I wanted you to clarify for me. They call it the book called Nisan, the first month of the Jewish religious calendar. And I always thought the Jewish New Year began with Rosh Hashanah in September. Could you please clarify that?
Well, first let me clarify that Nissan is not the name of a Japanese automobile manufacturer. Some of our listeners might have thought, why are we getting into Japanese issues? This is a Jewish name. Nisan is the name of the month in which we have Passover, obviously. You asked a question that's obvious to most people who hear that Nisan is the first month of the year, yet they know Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the Jewish New Year. Well, I think the best way of answering that is by referring to a passage in the Talmud that says there are 4 Jewish New Years. The Jewish year has 4 heads. That's what the word New Year actually means in Hebrew. Rosh Hashanah does not mean New Year. Literally, it means the head of the year. Well, the Jewish year has 4 heads. That means there are 4 different points in time that guide and inspire the rest of the year. I think that's perhaps the best way of putting it. Perhaps if we want to use an analogy from our own secular experiences, although it's not a perfect analogy, we know that we have various cycles in our year. The civil year begins with January, the fiscal year begins June, July, the academic year begins September, the baseball season, the football season, hockey season, every sport has its own cycle. Well, within the Jewish calendar year, we also have 4 different cycles. For the purposes of this program, I'd like to focus on 2 of them. One that most people are familiar with, namely Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, or the Jewish head of the year, is the day that marks, that commemorates, if you want to use that word, that recreates, which I think is a much better word, the very beginning of existence. Rosh Hashanah is the anniversary of the creation of the universe, specifically of Adam and Eve. The biblical account of creation culminated with God's creation on the 6th day, which was Adam and Eve. Well, that occurred on what we now call Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year.